are tired of women.
That's no good. This Steal your parents' credit card.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
To front basket.
Hello!
Hi. Wow, you came right out the gate.
Yeah, figured I should have some enthusiasm.
You got some pep in your step.
Because who knows if this will actually be able to make it
I
now.
know.
We say it every time, but
sometimes we actually don't make it to an hour.
I was so hungover yesterday that
Yeah.
you dealt with literally every chore.
You slept more yesterday than you have in the last month,
Mhm.
in the entire month of October.
Yeah, I think it's probably true.
Which, great. You need that rest.
We had our
sleep.
We had our neighbor over for dinner, and she goes
on like Thursday.
Yeah, and she goes hard.
Yeah, she
and,
goes hard.
Yeah, I guess I kind of went harder. Oh, and then she forgot her purse here, and then
and had to go to work the next day, right? So
yes.
she needed her purse.
And then I got up at 7:30 because she was calling me to bring it out, and then I was walking down our stairs, and I'm like, oh, I'm still drunk.
You're stumbling down the stairs.
And her daughter was like, she kind of looked at me like, what the fuck is the matter with you? And I'll have to.
Oh, her daughter was there in the morning too?
But she was the one that came over and got the purse, not.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's like, I'll have her come over and get it, and so. Yeah,
that's rough.
So I'll have to tell him today, by the way.
Yeah, I was still drunk.
Yeah. And it wasn't that kind of hangover where it was I was sick or anything. It was just like that your head's just a mess. Where everything's just a cloudy, shitty, horrible mess.
I get the sick hangover, but I don't know.
You said you were kind of hungover too, right?
A little bit. It was an hour though. It really wasn't that bad. I've had much worse.
Yeah.
There was last weekend. Did we do anything on Sunday? I think we did, right?
I don't know.
Because the next morning I woke up and because I remember being in class and feeling hungover, and then doing stuff wrong in class because I was. Did we do anything Sunday?
Sunday.
I don't remember at this point.
I don't either. No.
So, well, whatever. Now it's I can't
it's all
remember.
But that's why when we know it's Saturday and it's getting closer to 3 p.m. we're like, oh fuck.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, we not ready for this. But some fun stuff happened in the news. But I want you to dress your shirt first.
Oh, this shirt?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite brand. Incel.
The best microprocessor on the planet.
The best micro penis processor on the planet.
Indeed.
So it's Drew got me this shirt, just like my My Little PogChamp shirt, the pink one with the rainbows.
This one, was this a totally original idea of his? Because
no, this was somebody's thought of this for sure.
Yeah.
But I think he got it on Redbubble. I know you could not resist.
Well, it's in our intro, so steal your parents' credit
card. But yeah, so he got this one on Redbubble. It's a great shirt.
It is a great shirt.
I adore it. I don't think I've ever worn it on the show.
No, you haven't. I don't think.
But yeah,
I thought you had, but then I was like, oh no, it's just in the couple, because you don't post on Instagram that much.
No, not at all.
And then, but during our little engagement party we had in Laurel Canyon, this shirt was featured prominently because he brought it over during that. Yeah,
exactly. And so all of our friends have one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm very happy with it.
It's a great shirt. Yeah, it's fantastic. Is anything new in your life? Well, you worked on your dress a little bit.
I have been working on my dress. Let me slide this out of the way.
I moved.
Is that better? Yeah, it's a little better. You can see it.
I always bonk your camera when I'm turning it off.
So I've got this dress going on right now. It may not look like it, but there's a seam at the waist there. It's probably hard to tell on the camera here, but there's a seam at the waist. So the matching plaid is an illusion. Do not trust your eyes on that one. There is a seam there. But I've started adding the bias strips to each of the princess seams. So there's one on the front princess, the side seam, and the back princess. And then I've also folded out the pleats there. It hasn't been sewn together yet. That's the next step. I'm going to sew it all together. But I also need to baste across the upper edge of the skirt because those pleats will come out if I don't. So that's the next part of the process.
I love it.
I'm still deciding if I want to do bias strips on the side seam of the skirt. There's a bias strip on the side seam of the bodice, but I don't know. We'll see. I have just barely enough bias tape to do a strip there, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm very happy with it though. I mean, I did press the pleats a little too hard today, so I gotta press those back out flat. But you know, what can you do?
What was the theme of this last Met Gala?
It was American fashion, or it was like America, fashion in a culture America, or something like that.
So if you were to be dressing Shawn Mendes and his beard, like how would you dress them?
I'd put him in like gingham, like a gingham suit. Like think of like, well, gingham isn't strictly American, but like when you think of like Little House on the Prairie, like you think of like classic American cultures, like from our history, like you could put somebody in like gingham, or like I'm trying to think of other like a print or something that is like all American, or like Native American, like that kind of thing works too. Like if you were to put somebody in like deer hide, you could make like a deer hide suit, and that's like American. But so many people missed the mark on this shit.
Always,
and like
every year.
The Met Gala, like back when they did camp.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Hello, goodbye. Back when they did camp at the Met Gala, like 3 years ago or something like that, it was a total failure, like utter failure. But at this point in time, the Met Gala is only camp. Like it is so extravagant and ridiculous that like rich people pay like $40,000 a ticket to go sit at this gala to support the arts or whatever. It's already so extravagant and ridiculous that it's all camp.
But so, they're too self-serious to realize. Like,
of
that's the case,
course. If you were to another idea, like cowboys are very American. Like you can go through American history and find time periods and sort of like exaggerate them to dress somebody nicely for the theme of the Met Gala if it's based on America. Mm-hmm. It's not hard.
Yeah.
It's so easy. It's hard to find somebody who will make the shit for you, but it's easy to find a garment that will work and fits the theme.
Yeah.
And also, like, every person who was dressed in designer clothing at the Met Gala this last, whenever it was, like September maybe, everybody was dressed in, like, Italian and French designers. The theme is America.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
But you don't want to put somebody in American flag because that's tacky. And that's also like, too on the nose.
But I think I think that like it's funny. I think it's honestly because I put the Gabby Petito tag on the thing, which I think is now I'm now like realizing was a mistake.
Oh, we're getting a ton of
of
puppies.
Well, we can just jump into that. Like the
we'll get there.
The level of like cope of
absolutely,
like that's been the funniest thing about it.
So what's the latest news of Gabby Petito?
Brian Laundrie's dead.
They found remains of a human being. That was like near a backpack that belonged to things that belonged to Brian Laundrie.
Yeah, like it's just bones. They just found bones
and teeth.
Which like it was so funny because like any of these stories you go okay, like they've been missing for over a week. You're like they're so dead.
Yeah,
like three
no
days.
One goes missing that long.
No, like they're just dying. A dead person. So yeah, like they found his bones and his teeth and stuff, but it was so funny because before, like, one of the her dying is not funny, R.I.P. obviously, but there's something about the. I was telling you about it like because I was on the subreddit on like September 14th or so. So she was declared missing on September 11th or like maybe even before that. I don't know, but like it became public around that.
It was September 11th because her parents had to like wait to file the missing persons report or something.
Yeah. And so, and so she was missing and then but then if you go into the subreddit, it was all these women who were making basically like every woman that exists that cared about the Gabby Petito case became a PhD in psychology.
Yes.
Like they could discern from that video they were watching that Brian Laundrie's a sociopath, this narcissist, blah blah blah.
Yeah, they're experts in this. They've listened to true crime podcasts.
Right. That's kind of the thing.
I think
right?
we actually talked about that last week. How like the true crime thing is a very feminine or female thing to
Statistically, it
hyperfixate
is.
on.
Yeah.
Like, that's why a podcast like My Favorite Murder is so popular.
And I know why it is. I think that every woman that had a boyfriend that was abusive or they regret the relationship, they find that boyfriend in another person because they want them to have sex with them. It's like, why do women who leave abusive relationships join another one? It's like, and I think that like a lot of the women in this thing were like, kind of were sexually attracted to Brian Laundrie. It's like there's something about like the murder and like then especially when you find out it's strangulation, which is just a personal way to kill somebody. It's like stabbing and strangling are like two very personal ways to kill people.
You got to look at them while they die. It's like it's so or while you die. It is so personal.
Yeah.
I think like the psychosexual thing that you mentioned is like they aren't like they don't want to die, but like they have this like people who are obsessed with true crime and shit like that. I'm going to put on my lab coat here. I know we just talked about people pretending to be experts in psychology, but like,
well, we are experts in diagnosing women's mental disorders.
At the exactly. As gay men, we have the ability to read women's brain patterns, you know? But I mean, at the very least, you have a degree in psychology. So you are more qualified than probably 99% of the people on the subreddit Gabby Petito.
Yeah, I suppose.
r/Gabby Petito. But like the psychosexual thing, it's sort of like this perpetual like self-victimization, like to like latch onto and seek out like abusive relationships. It's a cycle. You get back into one, or you go back with the same guy over and over again. There is something there that's like, if there is something else, and if I were to like, I don't know, like if I were them, if I were somebody who had this, like there is sort of like a shifting of accountability onto somebody else if they're the source of all your problems.
Right.
So like if like you had an abusive ex-boyfriend, you can say like my life was shit back then, because it probably was, but it was solely because of him, which, you know, great, true, probably true.
Yeah.
He was an awful man.
Yeah.
But once you leave that relationship, your life should, maybe you should pick your life back up or whatever. And I haven't thought this through at all, so I'm going on and on. But like,
neither of us have thought about this all the way through, which is going to be
because
interesting.
I'm not a woman obsessed with true crime.
Yes,
but
you do like true crime stuff more than I do, though.
I do. Well, no, you're very morbidly fascinated.
I like it. I don't want it to be like narrated by a podcast. Like I prefer to just read hard facts, like what happened. Like so, in fact, like I went down the rabbit hole of like Randy Kraft, because he used to live near us, who just probably killed about 60 boys, like in the by the way, like very easy to just kill indiscriminately in the 70s and 80s. I mean, just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, especially in like LA.
Yeah, the
70s and 80s LA was a jungle.
Yes, of just murder and rape and horrible shit.
Yeah.
So
but shit. Like when you leave an abusive relationship, you kind of still need like a reason to something to blame your problems on.
Yes.
If your problems don't all disappear. And so maybe there's something psychological that draws you back to something that would allow you to shirk accountability.
And I think it's like this is gonna get fucking dangerous. Like
of course.
I think it's like a sexual thing for women too. It's like almost like the, like that kind of thing. Like maybe like I'm just guessing. Like maybe in sex, like where you want to be like totally submissive. It's like something about the person who, snuff somebody out is like the ultimate sort of submission thing. And like what's interesting and like why I think that like I'm scared to even talk about this kind of thing in terms of women is like because women and their sociopathy is not nearly talked about at the level that it is with men. And they're also really difficult to study because like women sort of do things that are of sociopathic behavior through manipulation or through poisoning is kind of like their MO. It's like never like up close and personal violence.
With men, it's very obvious, like behavior. Like I think you actually mentioned this yesterday or something, or the day before. Like male sociopathy or psychopathy is like much more exaggerated and like upfront. Whereas, like you just said, women do more
clandestine
things. Yeah. So, like you said, it's harder to study this kind of thing. So again, this is all conjecture, and like I'm not saying that women in abusive relationships are not victims. They absolutely are.
Of course, but
like
it is
I hate that I have to preface it at all.
Yeah, but it is that thing of like, you know, I honestly think that it's not really studied or looked at just because like, you know, because it's such a touchy subject, because it's if it turns into just a morbid curiosity as to why, for example, a woman would return to an abusive relationship, it turns into like victim blaming. And it's like, well, no, it's not. I'm not blaming them. I just want to know why this happens in the world.
Yeah,
you know,
there's got to be a psychological reason, or not even like a defect really, but a psychological function that happens in your brain that will bring you back to an abusive relationship.
And it is that thing of like, I only brought it up just because it was before. It was pretty. I mean, it was obviously pretty clear that, you know, Brian Laundrie had something to do with Gabby Petito dying, or it's like even before we knew that she was dead, but it was a pretty safe assumption. Like I said, like, you know, 3 days go by, honestly, like someone's missing. It's in this day and age that they're dead, you know, like short of extraordinary cases like Elizabeth Smart or like the women in Cleveland, you know, that were there for like 10 some odd years. But generally speaking, like, you know, this woman disappears in the middle of a national park. It's like, you know, she's dead. And
who is going to national parks?
That's a good question.
Why are you going to a national park other than
murdered.
to die?
Yeah, to get murdered or to kill yourself and have no one find you.
These like fake nature-loving bitches, men and women.
Yes.
Fake nature-loving bitches. Like, I've lived with one. They scare me. They're not human. Like, why would you go?
You lived with one? Oh, yeah.
Loved hiking, loved canyons, loved...
Yeah, well, also, too, what are the odds that he probably murdered a few people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was a little bit... To play with crocodiles.
Which I think Brian Laundrie did, and it didn't go so well for him.
Yeah, wrestling alligators in the Florida swamps is what gave him lifeblood.
Yes.
And he probably killed himself. I mean, like...
Well, yeah, it will probably, right?
But, like, if they found, like, remains... How long had he been there? They said it looked like it. So they said it looked like he had been there a long time.
I mean, if it was just bones, which like is kind of what the FBI is saying. It had been like, it's possible he even died before they found Gabby's body. I mean, but
wow.
The reserve did flood, so a lot of shit happened like in between this time period, like of when he went missing from his family's house, and then when they found his.
Wait, he was in Florida when they found him.
They found him in like in a nature reserve that was like kind of quasi near their house.
I wonder what kind, because I watched this TikTok the other day. That was very fascinating. In Florida and like parts of Louisiana and other like marshy areas that can exist in like closer to the equator, it's pretty hot there. Like bodies would decompose pretty quickly. There's a lot of wildlife fauna that would eat up whatever, the bacteria, shit like that. But back in the day, there were civilizations, even in like England and stuff like that. The bogs would get created. Like there's a bog that like a swampy area that would have like a certain level of, or rather lack of oxygen, underneath the water. And if you go deep enough underneath the water, you end up underneath like peat. And if you're like anything underneath that peat can be preserved like almost immaculately.
Sure, of course.
So like there were civilizations in I think like Florida and the UK where these bogs would bog mummies, exactly. These bogs would be used to purposefully like mummify people. It was sort of like a ritual thing where they would like bury people in these bogs underneath the peat. And we've discovered bodies that are like thousands of years old that are like mummified to the point where they are like their skin is like leather.
Yes.
And they still have all their hair and even like some of the like jewelry they were with and stuff like that.
I was even like looking at like an Inca thing where it was they would have child sacrifices, and they found 3 child sacrifices but they were like really high elevation, and it was so cold that they were like literally in immaculate condition. I mean, they like these bodies were like 500 years old, but they looked exactly like they did when they died, pretty much, which is bizarre. But I think in this case, it was like, there was no mention of a gun being involved, like with him killing himself. So I think that it was like maybe pills or some other shit. I don't know. Likelihood of killing himself, nearly 99.9%, And then this flood probably washed away the remains and moved them around, and then animals and shit just you know, took care of the rest. So, but yeah, no, very dead. But like what I found funny was so, and I was kind of saying it before, was like in like, so before she like was declared dead, or like they had found her remains or whatever, it was this thing with all these women talking about like the type of person that Brian Laundrie could have theoretically been based on their own experience with their own abusive boyfriend. Of course. And it was like, was such fervor and such intensity of time of like paragraphs that it was like, to me, it was like, you know, you everyone wonders, and it, you know, I was like reading about all these serial killers, like they're all married, you know, they like, you know, not, Charles Manson wasn't a serial killer, but it's like he had a wife, like literally all, you know, what's his name? Bundy had all these women proposing to him when he got arrested. And it's like, there's something about it going on. And then I read about the guy in Canada, the Bernardo guy, who was like just this serial rapist, and his wife was just totally complicit with the whole thing and helped him and like found women for him. And, you know, but she got 12 years and is like now totally scot-free in Canada. Like
she's out, just running free.
Yeah. And it was very interesting of like sort of the whole thing. And then, but the Cope part was so funny because before they found Brian Laundrie's remains, I sent you a tweet. Like what was the woman saying that potentially?
Dude, no, I think it was when they found his remains. That one where
they didn't say they were his remains. They said like they
remains
said they
were found
by his like bag. And like, what did she say? It was
remains were found by a bag that presumably belonged to Brian Laundrie. And her reply was like, well, it doesn't mean that it's him. He could have cut off a body part that he won't miss very much and kept running.
Wasn't this woman saying that like it could have potentially been like Gabby's body parts or something, or like?
I think so.
And it was like also too, like there's the same people who were saying that like the two other women that were killed in the same region, but it was like 30 miles apart from where Brian Laundrie was. Like the two women that were like shot and killed, like just kind of randomly murdered, which apparently, again, don't go to national parks. Like
happens all the fucking time.
It does all the time. Like these two women who were like, you know, the community said were drifters or whatever, were killed, and they're like, oh yeah, Brian Laundrie definitely did that too. And it's like, dude, like
who the fuck? Well, yeah.
So like he's a serial killer all of a sudden. Like he's like going to do van life, and then he's like, you know, I'm gonna also serial kill while I'm like on this trip.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I mean it was just like most likely the answer is just so unsexy. It's like had kind of some fucking serious anger management issues. Like probably fucking took some psychiatric medication he wasn't supposed to be on.
Yeah.
She probably did too. They were both in a fucking tussle. He strangled her to death. She died. He panicked, left. Then he told his parents. They know. Then he's like, I'm going to leave. Left to this like national park. They might have even assisted him, and then he killed himself with pills, and then his body washed away in the fucking thing, and they found him now. I mean, it's like literally just the most unsexy, like which most of these stories generally are. It's just like it's not interesting. It just is like, it's just like most tragedies aren't terribly interesting. You know? It's just like because humans be humaning, and dark shit happens. You know.
Yeah, man. Like Tim Dillon was right when he was like, the greatest thing that could happen to this nation is if they found Brian Laundrie and put him on trial. Imagine how attentive the United States would be. Like every person living here would be watching that, and we would be unified once again. Because
it's and the point, he didn't make it like very like they kind of roundabout talked about it, but the Rodney King thing was still very hot, and then OJ happened.
Yes,
like where it was like, oh shit, okay, we see this guy in the white Bronco. You have the images of like all the cop cars chasing it. Then like the images were leaked to the public of the murder scene, which was grisly and like horrific. And then like everyone knew OJ was guilty, but then it became this thing about like, well, will he be acquitted because to like literally make peace with the public, like over all this shit happening. And so it was a pretty safe assumption. And I loved like it was Ray on the show saying that like, how great would it be if he tried to shoot himself and he survived, Brian Laundrie? And he's like, yes, I didn't do it, not guilty.
Dude, like, it would be, imagine how conflicted we all would be if he paralyzed himself trying to kill himself.
Dude, it would have been.
Dude, I mean, it would be like, we all remember Casey Anthony.
Oh yeah.
Who killed Kaylee Anthony.
Definitely killed her daughter. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The one of the biggest things that stands out to me, or that I remember from that case, is like her search history on the computer. They found her search history, and like 10 searches in a row was like, what is chlorophyll? What is chloroform? How to make chlorophyll? What makes chlorophyll? What is chloroform? What is chloroform? How to make chloroform? She finally got to like how to make chloroform.
Yeah, one's for plants and one's for making people pass out.
And so like that was her search history. But that one was so funny to me because like she was just like a dumb American woman.
And you know, like, and she, like, now that I'm thinking about this in real time, so correct me if I'm wrong on the timeline, but I almost think that she got off because the Amanda Knox thing, like, we're on the heels of Amanda Knox.
Which one was that?
The woman who her roommate got killed in Italy, and then she totally didn't do it. Right. And like, so it became this like national trial of like this American woman who was like studying abroad in Italy. Her roommate got murdered. The guy who like killed the roommate is like totally free, but the Italian police so wanted to pin it on Amanda Knox and her boyfriend, and she didn't do it. I mean, like, you know, I don't think so. I mean, like, based on like everything that I see, and so I think it was this sort of like, and she was also very cute at the time. Like, I think it was this sort of like hot girl sort of like
being cute on trial.
Dude,
that is something we do not talk about.
I wonder how much love correspondence that Casey Anthony gets.
Dude, I mean, I like remember like a small amount of people thinking she was hot.
I mean, objectively.
Yeah, she was kind of cute, but like it probably does so much for your case if the jury finds you attractive or appealing in a physical sense.
That's what happened. I mean, that's really what happened with Ted Bundy. I mean, he really got away with so much just because he was good looking and not like, I don't know what the person's supposed to look like. That is the person that would commit these kinds of crimes. Like,
yeah.
But it apparently to society's standard doesn't look like Ted Bundy or Casey Anthony. You know.
Yeah. You picture a sicko looking person.
Yeah.
But when you get somebody who's hot,
if the husband, if the wife and kids die and the husband's going to be suspected, of course. So like, you know, and that was kind of the case with this one where it was like, okay, well, yeah, like, you know, it's a safe assumption he probably had some involvement in this whole thing. But
what was the one that was not too long ago? The dad who murdered his 2 kids and then his
we watched that documentary. I can't remember.
No, it was like Chris.
Yeah, no, that was the documentary.
Oh, really?
I guess we didn't watch it together, but
no, I don't remember it.
But yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it was like pretty obvious. Like, yeah, you know, it was weird because like the way because I was like, I guess casually familiar with the case because you hear these things, but like, you know, I don't watch like Nancy Grace and all these fucking stupid bobbly blonde haired cunts. So it's like I don't really know what's going on in like true crime shit. And again, like the reason why I don't listen to true crime podcasts is because like these women who do them, they bury the lead for so long. It's like the story's just kind of interesting to me to like, I lose interest. Like I kind of lose interest. But like, even speaking of just like people who aren't supposed to look like they did it, like the, Don't Fuck with Cats documentary. I'm sure you heard about that one.
Yeah.
But you kind of know generally what the story is, right? This like, kind of like attempting to be a model, kind of like prostitute guy in Canada, was making these videos where he was like killing cats, and they put him on like that like Igor or like or Best Gore website. I can't remember what it was. Like there's so many of these sort of like you can watch morbid shit websites.
Yeah.
And then like eventually he killed somebody on video and put it on there. Well, he's now living comfortably in a Canadian prison with a husband.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of how it goes, you know? Yeah. But
I remember the video of the Chris. What is the guy's name? Chris.
I can look it
Chris
up.
Fold. Chris Gaines. Isn't Chris Gaines?
That's Garth Brooks. But I mean, again,
Garth Brooks' alter ego. So he killed his 2 kids and his wife, just to live with his love.
His like fuck.
I think that's it, right? India Today. What the fuck, man?
Yeah, they always pop up. No, fuck. I remember the thing. Buried
in like
oil
a barrel,
something like that. Chris Watts.
Chris Watts. Thank you. Peach got it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Watts. I remember there's a whole video. There's like an hour and a half long video of like his interviews,
like interrogation stuff.
Interrogations, and then them going into his house.
Yeah, that's right. The body cam footage.
Dude, body cam footage. That stuff is chilling.
That's like how they can make the documentaries. Is it's like somehow like with a FOIA request or whatever, like you can get all this footage of the person. Like, and again, like it would be interesting kind of going into it, blind, like where I didn't know that he was guilty or whatever, but, which I did, I guess, but like, or I think it would have actually been more interesting if I didn't know, but at the same time, I think that like I should have assumed if a husband had been exonerated of a crime he's like being investigated for when his like wife and kids are dead, that would have been bigger news. Mm-hmm. So I should have just assumed like if I didn't know about it as a casual sort of, consumer of like whatever media that I have time to consume, I should have assumed like, well, yeah, the husband obviously killed the kids and the wife.
Yeah.
Ugh. So, Dalreese brings up that guy that everyone wanted to get off for illegally racing and killing a mom and baby because he was so fucking hot. He literally became TikTok famous. The judge didn't even want a sentence.
Wait, I think I remember this guy.
Yeah, because he looks like my type. And so I was like, maybe we should have a more lenient sentence.
Right. Yeah, that was recent,
Even
right?
It
was like
something
a Florida
just
kid.
absolutely horrific, but it was just sort of like
he's not super cute.
Oh,
like
come
I
on.
get it.
He is, but
no, I get it.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I get it.
But yeah, no, it was like that is that, and yeah, Dalreese brings up a good point of like where I'm even guilty of it too. Where I was like, how long is it? Like I think it's like sentences like 48 years or something.
Holy shit!
It's like long. It's like. He'll be like, or maybe 24. It's like I'm either doubling it or I need to half it, where it's 24 or 48. But like,
yeah, Tampa crash. Honestly, I might have even gone to school with this kid.
It's possible.
Cameron
I think he's younger
Herron.
than you though.
He's 2 years younger than me.
Yeah.
Cameron Herron. I want to see if he went to my high school.
Yeah.
Oh no, he went to Tampa Catholic.
What did Neon say? Sorry.
Young high school graduate found guilty. Dude.
Yeah, Neon says search histories mean nothing. If I ever get arrested, pay no attention to how to make body armor for upcoming race war. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, it's also good information to know.
So,
JK, RIP, RIP to all people involved.
he got 24 years. Cameron.
I had it. Yeah, I guess it was just.
Oh, Neon Only says the Pikmin behind Sean makes me wish I never sold my GameCube for cigarette money. Jordan got that for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love that little thing. It's so cute.
But speaking of murderers, Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin. Well, we've known he's murdered. We know he's murdered.
This
many
can't be
women.
the first body. I mean, like that's kind of the question.
There are many women in his shed.
Yeah, the ones like all the women that he attempted to marry that couldn't pretend to be ethnic enough, like his wife that
Ilaria
Baldwin, who sold it for however long. He's got like just a closet full of white women that are dead.
Most certainly.
That were just not ethnic enough to raise his profile.
So Alec Baldwin killed a woman on set of the movie Rust,
which I didn't even know he's making. Like first of all, like what I want to say is like again, like I know to the casual observer of this, it seems like we're so utterly jaded about death and murder, and frankly. We are. If you're new to this, it's like mostly this thing of like I have such a strong amount of disdain for people that pretend to care about people they don't know dying. I mean, like, and also too, it's that thing that we all take a look at our life, right? It's like you could have I'm not talking about you because you're a better person than I am, but I'm a piece of shit. So it's like that thing of like you have that friend that is 2 people removed. That gets cancer, and then you go to a party and being like, yeah, I had a really rough day. My friend Steve, he's got cancer. It's terminal. And then everyone has to go like, I am so sorry. Or like, my friend died. And like, I don't say like, I'm sorry anymore. I just kind of go like, oh, shit, that sucks. It just is, it's just kind of like, yeah, no, that sucks. But most people are like so uncomfortable with the fact of like, oh, trauma or tragedy could potentially be in this person's life that it does sort of give you the attention of like, and I've said it before on this podcast, I know you have never felt this feeling, but it's like the idea of like your parents dying in a plane crash and you go to school the next day and then everyone gives you attention,
Yeah.
It's like something about that like sick perversion, like in a lot of people's brains, myself included, it was something that has been considered,
Yeah.
of just like, but you can't relate to it at all.
Well, some people are crazy enough to commit those evil things, evil doings, so that they get sympathy.
Yeah,
like I killed my, like if you kill your parents for for attention.
It's the same.
People do
it's the same
that.
instinct. If like if you're going down like a I'm not saying you, because like you are a unique person, but it's like I think a lot of us have felt like you're going down like a concrete staircase. You see a woman carrying a baby in front of you. You just thought like, what would it be like if I just, you know what I mean? Like
Intrusive thought.
Yeah, and just absolutely intrusive thoughts. And like that's the same thing with like my parents died and I get attention. I mean, it's like all kind of in the same vein of stuff. So where was I going with that? Regarding Alec Baldwin. Oh yeah, we don't. Like, look. I mean, the cinematographer dying. It's like, yeah. I mean, I never heard of her until today, and that's more of the tragedy than her dying to me. Like, like so. And again, like the fact that this seems to be largely the cost of bringing in scabs because of the IATSE protests.
Yeah.
So
literally, yeah. So like multiple people off that set resigned, like put in their resignation or whatever in protest. And then they brought on 4 new people who were non-union, or were they? I forget which it was, union or non-union. They brought on 4 new people who were just like not trained or whatever. And of course, the literal next day, this happens to Helena.
Yeah, of course. Helena. What's her?
I think it also starts with an H, but it's I forget.
I had it pulled up,
but like what's tough is like my friend does this for a job. She is a DP, and like easily could have been her.
Yeah, of course.
But the way you were describing it, like the other day when we were talking about this, like 2 friends removed. That's kind of her.
I remember what my point was we both woke up in bed and like we were like both on our phones, and I was just like, this is funny to you, right? Like that,
Dude.
like that Alec Baldwin shot a woman in the face and she died. Like that's like it was, and like I always take your temperature. I take your temperature to be like, is this like an insane thought that I'm having right now? And like, fortunately, you were like, no, it's pretty funny. I won't speak for you.
The thing is, like, it's fun to me. I think Alec Baldwin has already killed many women. We just don't know about it yet. Is he Trump deranged?
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
like,
he's like
why
super
would,
Trump
why would he
deranged.
do SNL?
I mix him up with Robert De Niro, like
who also
a lot,
is,
who is
but-
also Trump deranged.
Yeah, no.
But Alec Baldwin equally is Trump deranged.
And did his terrible impression of Trump on SNL for
Not
way
even
too
good.
long.
Yeah,
but like
just years of content. He was just getting years of paychecks.
Yeah.
From SNL for doing Trump. But him being so Trump deranged, like, I don't really like. It is so funny to me that we live in a world where Alec Baldwin now has to. Alec Baldwin, one of the richest actors, has to like cope with the fact that he killed a woman
with a gun, which
With
also
a
like
gun.
also is somebody who's like super pro gun control. It's too perfect. And like what's tough is like also really I need to make it clear. What I also found funny in the most horrifically morbid way is how stupid Trump supporters are of like, this is karma. And you're like,
Exactly,
you don't know
yeah.
what karma means. You're a fucking moron.
You don't get
like,
karma for disliking a president.
No, like
it's so stupid.
No, of course. Like as annoying and fucking dumb shit as he was, like this is not at all karma. It just is like a coincidence that's hilarious. Like just on the surface of like what it actually is. Like, and
it's also hilarious that this happened at the height of the IATSE thing. Like, of course, the timing is just impeccable.
And yeah, and
that Alec Baldwin would shoot a woman on set of Rust.
Right, and it's like, so like again, like okay, to the person that may be thinking like what I'm saying right now is hilarious. If this was or rather horrific, sorry, not the opposite of hilarious.
Yeah.
Imagine this is on the set of a Bollywood movie. You would not feel what you're feeling right now. It's like it's because it's like a woman who's like a naturalized American citizen, and then also Alec Baldwin. Like that's the only reason why you're feeling this right now. Like if it was some random Indian woman, like you would just sort of see the story.
You wouldn't care.
No, you wouldn't care. Like and so like and it's like just because Alec Baldwin has, from a pop culture standpoint, been such a public dildo. It's funny that like to have him finally have to suffer for something. Like. And it unfortunately created a victim that didn't deserve to die. But at the same time, like, this guy just sucks. Like, he's been this fucking annoying drunk that has bothered American politics and bothered normal people like you and I for 20 years.
Is he like a dynastic actor? Like, is his family like his dad or something famous?
I don't think his dad, but like his whole, like all of his siblings are actors, and they're all like basically photocopies of Alec Baldwin, but they're just worse at their job. So like
Alec Baldwin isn't even that great of an actor. From what I've seen,
he is you know,
his like I watched 30 Rock and like wasn't that good in that, in my opinion.
He's just playing himself.
Yeah,
you know, like and then also, but that's the thing too, is like even Donald Trump on SNL, he's just playing himself doing a terrible Donald Trump impression, and so it's like and then like also too, like that juxtaposed with. Really, I think SNL's responsible for like me finding this or like getting schadenfreude in some kind of way. Even though I'm not a Trump supporter, it was just like it's just these celebrities that are like constantly giving each other awards, constantly backpatting, constantly telling people that have zero means compared to them about like how they should behave, how they should vote, what they should do, like how anybody who would vote for Trump, largely which was working class people, where he actually talked to, you know, whatever, all the shit we've said. It's like, oh no, like I'm rich and famous, therefore like I am the arbiter of what is good and acceptable thought.
Yeah.
So fuck this orange clown, and you all are retarded for voting for him. And it's like, yeah, maybe your voice doesn't matter in all this, because like you have 70 million people that voted for him that do not even come close to the means that you have, and yet you know you would think you would have no objection to a sketch where you would be doing a debate with. You dressed up in this whole thing, like Trump outfit, doing a terrible impression of Trump while Jim Carrey is being Biden and trying to, like, there's no insult to Biden. It's like, I'm super cool, my aviators, like Biden. And it's like, maybe this is like not really speaking to anybody in the country other than like you know? And like even people that are broke and voted for Joe Biden were not stoked on it, you know? Like it was just all a bummer. Like this last election was just a bummer. You know, and so yeah, for him to like finally have something real happen in his life, I would have thought it would have been his wife, like, you know, but like, you know, he's basically like Mel Gibson with his wives. It's like, you know, Mel Gibson, like, you will blow me in the jacuzzi. I mean, like literally that level of drunken energy. So I don't know, like there's like a lot of layers to it, to where it's like I've now gone into like 1,000 of them, this onion of why this is funny to me, and I'm sure all you can think of a million other ones. So
yeah, it's true. It is, yeah, it's morbidly hilarious that this would happen to him.
The people who are this is Gio. The people who are so remorseful over Baldwin are the same people who would be laughing hysterically if Trump's trial. Think someone, yeah, of course,
yeah.
like, or it would be like yeah, it would be the Trump people saying it's karma for this happening to Alec Baldwin. It's like the same shit. Like, and these people don't realize they're the same fucking person, which is like, or it's like, you know, like some like the radio talk show host who was conservative and anti-vax that died of COVID. Like they were all like, yeah, well, told you so.
Yeah, slam dunk.
And like that's like you have to recognize that like none of us care if it doesn't have like a direct connection to you or your life. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares.
Right.
Like,
if you need to use a dead person to make a slam dunk on the opposite side, you're not a very good person yourself.
No. And like, you know, and we've said it before, but like this pandemic of the unvaccinated, like when unvaccinated people were dying and then it became this like celebration. It's like, oh no, like then you all morally preening about the dead was never in good faith. It was always bullshit. So, and then, you know, and he says, do you think part of his obsession with gun control came from the fact that he knew that he himself couldn't be responsible with firearms and projected it onto everybody else? Yeah, no, you know, of course. And like that's kind of the thing too, is like, so that's my big question is how did this happen? So like, like we do know, like, it seems like from a procedural standpoint, I understand it. So it's like, it sounds like the last thing that I heard, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but because I was reading it last night. So something like, you know, this is probably ever evolving. Was that the kind of scab armorer took this it was like a Colt like 45 from the like era appropriate, so like, you know, 1860 65 whatever, took it out to like fire real ammunition out of it, and then like perhaps like left a real bullet in it or something.
What? That's what happened?
But at the same like and then it was like they say cold gun when they give it to you, meaning that it's like full of blanks or whatever, and then hot meaning that it's like, but like, you know, why, you know, I don't really know with like era appropriate guns, like why they just use ones that can fire real ammunition or whatever. I'm also somebody who really doesn't like CGI muzzle flash and things like this, and so it's a complicated issue for me on this one. But also too, like the point is like, why was the gun pointed directly at her?
Yeah.
And like, you know, was it like a shot like where he needed to point the gun at the camera and fire or something? Like, couldn't they have like worked around this to where like it wasn't literally in her face?
Right.
I don't really know what happened. Like, and it's just like, so the events leading up to this are what I'm more interested in. Is like, how could there be this like absolute procedural failure that would cause this? So like the last high profile one was that I can think of was Brandon Lee, who was Bruce Lee's son on set of The Crow, that movie he did, and he died on it because the prop master, like, so when you make, like, if you're making blanks, like, without buying them standard, you take, like, the actual bullet, you remove the projectile from it, close it, so, like, the actual, like, everything that makes the bullet move is still there, but the bullet that would be the projectile to be shot out of the gun doesn't move
gone,
forward.
yeah.
What happened was they did a scene before, something got lodged in the barrel of the gun, the prop gun, and then the firing pin and the propellant was enough to launch this thing out of the front of the gun that then shot Brandon Lee and killed him. So that kind of makes sense to me about what happened, but it's like this story keeps getting weirder and weirder, and I think it actually is sort of glorious that it's juxtaposed with the fact that, you know, people who were on the set and saw kind of that, like, were union people that were getting fucked, were seeing these guns discharged in ways that they were uncomfortable with, and they're like, yeah, we're fucking out.
Yeah.
We're out of here. And then, like, through that happening, and stupid Alec Baldwin, who, how much more money does he need, really? To where, like, he couldn't be like, I'm in solidarity with these people, but he stuck around and then shot a woman and killed her. It's that, too. Like, that's also why it's, like, funny may not be the right word. Like, it's funny just from a cartoonish level because it is so cartoony, but it's funny just because it's like the amount of people that are abused in entertainment, like that work shitty jobs, like that could potentially be hit with a flying projectile from a gun. These are the kind of people who do not get like the amount of praise. Celebrities are giving themselves awards every day, I feel like.
Yeah.
And then, but are any of these people who are striking right now, are they ever honored for anything? Or, like, you know, if this woman that if she would have survived, or, like, you know, she would have potentially been, like, you know, if she was just incredible, like a Roger Deakins type person, where if she were to get an award at the Academy Awards, it's a rush segment where they play them out with music in about 3 seconds. Like, that's the level of appreciation that people get. But then the stupid face whore that, like, has the ability to hold the gun and shoot her and kill her gets to have this 15-minute meandering speech about how poor Americans should vote. You know, it's like, it's just like,
exactly.
That's what made it just so, you know?
Yeah.
Like, anyway.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Where are we?
Anyone seen Dune yet? No.
We haven't seen
I
Dune.
actually, I want to watch it, like, probably the next few days.
Yeah, that'd
and
be
I'll let you
great.
know. Yeah, and I knew...
People keep saying prop gun. It just means a gun on a movie set.
Yeah, no, like...
It's a real gun. I mean, when I was on set for Sheep Hills, they had a prop gun, which was same weight and function as a real gun.
Yeah, and, like, and it's important. I mean, we, like, you know, even though, like, we're generally, like, of the, like, whatever progressive means anymore, like, pro firearm is, like, I'm 100%. So, like, so, you know, it's that thing of, like, prop gun meaning that, like, this was like a recreation of a gun from the 1800s. You know what I mean? So, like, yes, like, if I had that in my possession, outside of a movie context, it wouldn't be a prop gun. You know what I mean? But it's like, in order to find the ammunition that would go into these guns, it's like, it's hard to not put it in the realm of prop. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, these are functioning firearms. But at the same time, it's like, in the setting of a film, you can't really call it anything other than a prop. Like, you know, if I had this glass that needs a continuity director to tell me where I put it when the scene ends, it's not a glass anymore, it's a prop. So, like, it's kind of like, it's semantics. So
of course, yeah.
So they were clearly handling guns without the most basic gun knowledge whatsoever. He knew it was a real gun, and with a real gun doesn't matter if someone who handled it says it's unloaded. Yeah, no, of course. And again, like, these are the kind of people that are telling us to have more gun control without like any knowledge of the type of gun that causes the most, like, unsolicited gun deaths in this country. I mean, it really just it illuminates so many things, like this event, and I think it's like what made it so tragically delicious.
Yeah. But I don't know. Do we have anything else?
Not really, no.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what happened this last week other than those two things.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, infrastructure package, but
God, it just goes on.
Yeah, because I said I didn't care, not because I didn't care what was in it. I don't care because I knew what actually mattered wouldn't pass.
Mm-hmm. Bernie slander in the news again.
Yeah, I just feel like it's just like 2016 won't end.
Yeah. The media can't get their heads out of their little butts.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Move on.
Neoni says you can buy Neoni's our resident gun expert. He says you can buy 45 long Colt in any gun store. Those revolvers are still made and shot today by cowboy cosplay weirdos. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, like, if I had like absolute fuck you money, I'd buy one. You know what I mean, like to me though, it's like it's not even just buying the firearm. It's like buying also the ammunition, which is like you have to buy it from like a specialty kind of thing. Like it's just like I mean, even lever action rifles. It's like, well, I'd love to have one of those too. Like again, it's like the ammunition is like strange, and so. Especially like now with ammunition being like that type of ammunition wouldn't be rushed on, but it's like, no, I mean, like I would like, again, like absolute fuck you money, and we live in a state that isn't retarded like this one. Yeah, I would like buy all this weird shit.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
Like the game Red Dead Redemption 2, like Sean can tell you, I'm obsessed with it. I would buy every gun in that game. Like there's no question. So like, and he knows as well as I do, like that Forgotten Weapons channel is so good. Like,
that older man who does.
No, that's Hickok 45. Forgotten Weapons is like this kind of nerdy guy about my age, like in between like my age and 45. I can't really tell. Who like showcases all these weapons that were like either like prototype like ideas that kind of maybe evolved into like the next step of weapons.
Yeah.
Like one of the guns in the game in Red Dead is this thing called a Lamat revolver, and this thing was really cool in concept because it was like. First of all, like it would hold 9 rounds like in the cylinder, but it also had a chamber underneath that could have a shotgun shell. Huh. So like you could flip the back of the hammer to like either shoot the shotgun shell or shoot.
That's crazy.
But it was so slow to reload and so unreliable, and like, but it was mostly sold to like Confederate like upper class. It's like a showpiece kind of.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was effective in some kind of way, but it was just not. It was a very cool concept, but it just wasn't really like that practical. But at the same time, like watching this guy showcase, like, and he's like really brilliant at taking them apart and kind of showing you how the mechanics work or why they didn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
The handgun that the Mandalorian's pistol was based on was a real gun. Like
That's
that
cool.
was like sort of a precursor to like the Mauser and like all these like German weapons. Like it was a German weapon as well, but it's like. It's interesting, like you kind of see, and like if I had, like point being that if I had just fuck you money, I would like go to auctions and buy these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would just be fun, because I love firearms.
Yeah.
Ian's the guy from Forgotten
Weapons.
Weapons.
From Forgotten Weapons.
Yeah, Gun Jesus, essentially. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of it.
That's that. We almost made it to a full hour. I'm proud of us.
Yeah, no, I feel this like semblance of guilt, like for the people who do. Pay us money on Patreon, but like I don't know, like I have to I mean really this is on me, like because I have to like really I think that like what I used to do that was like more effective was I'd watch like news or information and then just put like a thing into the note and then like figure out how to extrapolate upon it like on the day. It is kind of tough doing it on Saturday. It feels like this sort of like interruption in the middle of like a day that we shouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah, and
so like I don't know. But I don't know.
We've gone through so much metamorphosis with this and picking our day and stuff. But you know.
Anyway, to the new people here, thank you for showing
thanks
up.
for joining
you
us.
said some shit that horrified you or you disagree with.
Yeah. If you felt anything at all during this podcast episode, click that red subscribe button.
I mean,
turn that button gray.
Yeah.
If you're emotional in either direction about any of the things we talked about today,
and our audience
that's a reason to come back.
And our audience is so tiny. Like, talk shit, and like we'll talk.
We'll talk shit back. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, subscribe, blah blah blah. And we'll see you next Saturday.
See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.